Du lyssnar på Fasciaguiden, en podcast om kroppen, om ny forskning och om en förändrad syn på hälsa, verk och smärta. Jag heter Axel Bolin och nu ska du få lyssna på ett väldigt speciellt avsnitt. Det är nämligen en intervju med Jean-Claude Guimberteau, den franska kirurgen som har filmat den levande kroppen under de senaste, över 30 åren. Han pratar tillsammans med mig och Hans om vad det innebär att se den levande kroppen och hur den levande kroppens perspektiv gör att allting blir annorlunda. Om hans personliga resa när han första gången såg att det här är inte som jag trodde det var. Och det är lite spännande för det är nästan som att följa en film eller en karaktär. Att man märker att den levande kroppen är levande på riktigt alltså. Det är celler som är här och det är trådar som är där och det är färger och det rör sig. Och det är väldigt intressant att lyssna på en människa som har sett hur livet faktiskt lever. Så utan vidare omsvep, här är intervjun med Jean-Claude Guimberteau. Welcome to the Fascia Guide and this extra podcast about the living body with Jean-Claude Guimberteau and Hans Bolin. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, welcome.
So nice to have you here. I don't know if you know this, but you were actually one of the initiators for the Swedish Fascia Convention and the Living Body conferences, because you sent me an email in January, the 4th of January 2024, where you talked about how happy you were that someone was talking about the living body. Because you've seen our websites, our documents, and looked at it and saw we need more people talking about the living body. Could you start by telling us a little bit about that? Why were you delighted about the focus on the living body, and why do you think we need to focus more on the living body?
Well, because during my professional life, I have been always in contact with living body. So my job is to observe living body. So at the beginning, I was not really interested by fascia. I was interested by the tendon sliding. I wanted to understand how is it working only, because when you are looking at anatomical books, the explanation is very simple, is very simplistic, and you never find what is in the books when you are making surgery concerning the sliding system. And so I decided to use, at the beginning, a long time ago, to use a microscope, and then to use a endoscope during surgical procedure.
Oh, so in the beginning you just did it to understand what you were seeing to help you with your surgery.
Yeah, it was during surgery. And I understood first that the connective tissue, which is normally called packaging tissue, was not only a packaging tissue, because all these fibers, the connective tissue is made of fibers, and all these fibers was penetrating all the organs, skin, tendon, muscle. You were able to observe fibers everywhere. And so as I was practicing microsurgery, transplantation, I have been almost everywhere in the body. And I observe that the fibrillar network is everywhere in the body. So I conclude that maybe this connective tissue is not only connective, maybe its role is much more important. And I suggest that it could be a constitutive architecture of the body. This was the first step. The second step was concerning the cells. Because when you observe fibers, in some place, you don't observe cells. In some other place, you observe almost only cells. So the relationship between fibers and cells is a complete fusion, tissular fusion. You can't separate a cell from the fibrillar network. You can't. If you do it, it's a biais. It's a scientific biais. You understand what I mean?
No, or
Yeah.
I might, but the listeners might not. So
No, a biais, it's a mistake. It's an error.
oh, yeah, okay.
And I said, if the fibrillar network is everywhere, and if the cells are in complete fusion with the fibrillar network, I can't imagine that the body is made of separate parts. It's a global. I can conclude only as a global architecture.
So it's like if you're to understand a lion or a giraffe, for example, but you
Yes.
study them in a zoo, then you can't really understand them, because you need to understand them on the savannah. You need to understand them in their natural environment. So by taking out a cell from the body and from the fibrillar network, you can't really understand it. You need to understand it as parts of the whole inside of the living body. Is that an analogy that might work?
Yes, but I understand very well, but it's difficult to make experimental works, technical works on cells when you are making a surgical procedure. Of course. So maybe it could be done on animals in labs, and I think scientists could be how can I say, could be encouraged to do more on living animals than on dead fragments. So they can study inside animal with an endoscope, and they can observe cells in living situation, because it's different. Sometimes you can see areas with a lot of cells, thousands, billions of cells, and then just beside, no cells. Sometimes you can observe thousands of cells, and sometimes 20, 40 cells just beside, completely isolated from the main group, and you don't understand why.
What are they doing?
Right. My question was, what are they doing there?
By themselves.
Sometimes you can see cells all along the fibers. What are they doing? Are they moving? Well, you are smiling. You are smiling. But the conclusion is there is a cellular behavior inside the living body.
But you said it. You said, I think one interview we had with you, you said that this is, if it's a global structure, you have to look at you said that it's a paradigm shift. You have to look at other things at the same time, not just physics, but maybe mathematics or physics. So what do you mean by that?
You know, of course, I hope that during the Congress we will be able to speak about mathematics, thermodynamics, complex system, and so on, because when you change your mind concerning the body, you say it's a living body with inside electric power, with inside fluids. You are obliged to use the, how can I say, the basic principle of thermodynamics, physics of fluids, complex system theory, for example, strange attractor. You have a lot of fields which are not now presently introduced in medicine teaching. We never teach and we are never taught concerning non-linear system, for example. But our body is a non-linear system. Because everything in the body is non-linear.
Yeah, and everything is moving.
Everything is moving, and everything is irregular.
Yeah.
Irregular. The fibrillar system is irregular. All the cells are different. The shape of the cell is not. There is no one way, one shape. No, all the cells have a different shape. In the living, maybe not on a dead fragment, but in the living, all the cells are different. And when you are looking some cells on fibers, or when you are looking to cells, all of them focus on a place, on an area, just there. Not beside, just there. And when you are making a procedure on a patient with a local anesthesia, so you can speak to the patient. The patient has a personal, individual conscience. He has consciousness. And when you are looking at the cell inside your patient, you have the feeling that inside the body of your patient, there is a cellular behavior, maybe not a consciousness, but an intelligence, a way of doing. They know where to go. They know to connect together with other cells. So there is in your mind as a surgeon, you say, well, I have two worlds. One at the level of the fibers and cells, there is a world inside my patient, and there is another world, it's my patient. And I can't talk with him because I am in the same world as my patient. But inside my patient, there is another world, and certainly in my body, there is another world too.
It's like its own universe, basically, with all things changing and all things moving.
You see, and it's very troubling. It's very, how can I say, disrupting in your mind, you see. You change your way of thinking. When you observe cells, it's not the cells. You say, well, it's a living thing. It's living with a purpose, maybe with a sense. I don't know, but there is something. And we are not to neglect it.
I was thinking about there is in other cultures, not Western cultures, but other cultures, they had a habit of naming everything. giving the forest a name, giving the lake a name, giving the bear a name, giving the wind a name. So they were personalizing everything that was alive around them, because then they related to it in a different way. And what you're saying here is basically that this body is actually alive, so it's almost like its own, not almost, it's like its own conscience, it's like its own, the expression of that living person. But that's not the way we usually look at the body, right? Because if you open up a textbook in anatomy, then it's all static and it's all still.
Yes, but it's a book.
It is, yeah, it is.
It's a book. And in a book, there is also another point. In a book, you are in 2 dimensions.
Yeah.
But in fact, our body is in 3 dimensions. We are volumes.
But how was it for you? Because you did your surgeries, you wanted to understand the sliding mechanisms, you used an endoscope to film how it looked, and then you were surprised at how it looked. But how, because you are a surgeon, you're trained in anatomy, you have read all these books, how was it to have that pre-knowledge about how you thought it looked, or how people are teaching you that it looks, and then seeing this?
Well, when you are taught as a surgeon concerning anatomy, you are young. You are a young man. You are around 28, 30 years old. And you accept what people are saying to you, because normally they know very well and in a better way than you. Then after, when you are a surgeon, you have to make your job properly. You are interested in technical point of view. You have to know where to cut, where to dissect, what to do. And it's little by little, when you are getting older, that you say, well, what I have seen during years and years is not really as what I see in a book. It's different. I don't understand how is working the sliding system. And so I want to understand, and so I have to find a way to understand. And the best way is to make movie, to analyze the movie, and to observe what happened in nature. And little by little, your way of thinking is changing. But it's not, well, I don't want to criticize the former way of teaching, because it's a slow evolution of the knowledge, and you have to go step by step. And the main difference is not human difference. It's a technical difference. It's technology. Because now we have endoscope, we have cameras, we have digital computer. So it's much easier to understand compared to 1 century ago, for example. At that time, they had no cameras, only drawings. So it's much different. And I think in the future, you will be able to observe inside the living body without any skin incision. I think with RMI, it will be a new revolution to observe inside the body.
But it's interesting, because we have shown your footage to hundreds of people, ordinary people, body workers, people interested in like entrepreneurs, innovators from all fields of work, and it's almost always the same reaction. So people are first surprised that this is how it looks, and then they are fascinated or overwhelmed, or these images are sometimes, it's like they finally understand something or have grasped something, or and by looking at the footage, and then when we tell them this is how you look on the inside, then something else happens. They realize that it's actually them they are watching, but not watching themselves, of course, but that's how they look. You must have heard this a lot, like the realization. What does the realization of understanding that I am alive, or that this living, my body is alive in that sense? Have you? What has been your experiences with that?
Well, as I said previously, my feeling is that globally, people are not really interested. They don't want to know. They don't want to know. And as I said, only a few medical therapists, fascia therapists, osteopath, physiotherapists are really interested. But the general public, very few are interested to know how they are doing, how they are made. Because when you are thinking to your body, it's a beginning of irrational way of thinking. You have a way of thinking. You are sure of your body. You want to be sure of your body. And if I show to you that you are made of fibers and some cells, you are more fragile. And so you don't want to be fragile. You want to be ready for life. And it's like a car. You have a very beautiful car. And if I show you that the gas is going to your motor only through a few tubes, very fragile, you say, well, I don't want to know how is it working. I want to use my car. Really. Yeah. You understand what I say?
Yeah.
Sometimes my English is not at the
we get you. It's it's an uncomfortable realization, and a lot of people don't want to make that uncomfortable realization. Yeah.
There is a part of our rationality. Sometimes when you are confronted to the truth or to the reality, you can accept it, but you can refuse it completely. I remember when I was working at the hospital, when I was leaving my office, very often I was seeing a lot of people who had been operated for heart disease or vascular problems. They were smoking a lot of time every day. And I said, well, you have been operated. You know that the cause is that you've been smoking during years and years and years, and you continue to smoke. Do you think about it? And they say, hey, doctor, don't care about me. Go away. You see, so it's difficult to teach people to the reality of things. Very often people refuse that.
Do you think it could have to do with the way we approach and think about and feel about change in our society?
Well, frankly speaking, I don't know. I have tried through my movies, through the videos, I have tried to give the tools, and you use them, to give the tools to increase the knowledge about living body. Now you have tools, you have photos, you have videos, you have conference. Everybody can use it. So I have tried to do that on my way. I think the best way, as I said, I think during the last interview, is, for example, to make a movie for general public. I think it's the best way. Maybe conference, but on the TV screen, if you see the body with beautiful images, you can improve the way of thinking your body. But otherwise, it will be a very slow evolution.
But you mentioned you showed this to surgeons, and not in all of them, but in some of them, they changed the way they approach their surgery, right?
Yes. Yes, but surgeons are not scientists.
No. But they started treating the body differently when seeing how beautiful it was.
Yes, the incisions are smaller, they take care, but it's not the problem of a surgeon to study connective tissue. It's not its job. So only few of us are really interested in connective tissue, in body organization. Very few. But
then I have some good news for you, because we've been using your footage now for, I think it's for 10 years. We've been showing it to people, and the interesting thing is that from our perspective, there is a problem with our collective view of the future. Like, the future is not what it used to be. We don't really believe in the future. And if you look at the statistics now, I saw this commercial the other day that 1 out of 3 people in Sweden would get cancer. And I remember when it was 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 6. And 1 out of 5 is in chronic pain. I remember when it was 1 out of 10. So we are moving in the wrong direction as a society. And this seems to be, the idea to solve it seems to be to put more money in the things that have not worked before. But a lot of people are questioning the way the old paradigm has solved for these problems, and then they're looking for something new. And what's interesting with your footage is that it has created hope, because when you see that things are actually changing all the time, when things are actually moving all the time, then you start to believe that maybe things can actually be better because it's changing. And a lot of people are getting a diagnosis, or they're getting an evaluation saying this is how it is and it's going to be like this for the rest of your life, and then they accept that. But some people are not accepting it. Like, I don't accept waking up with back pain every month. I want to find something to do with it or to do about it. And then they see that, oh, the body's actually alive. There are things I can do. But I think a problem is that we think that change has to be either a massive radical intervention, or it has to be a surgery, or it has to be a new medication, or it has to be something you put in. But what we have found is that change happens every day from small things. So if I start breathing better every day, if I start moving every day, then that will slowly build up and change the way my body is structured by small changes. But as a society, we're looking for the quick fix. We're looking for the instant thing. But more and more people are starting to wake up to the fact that we are the life that we are living. Like the life we are living is actually directly affecting our flow and our structure. And that realization is very empowering and hopeful and humbling as well. So there is a new movement. My hope and my bet is that this is gonna actually make some changes. So the work you have done for the last 30, 40 years is reaching a new audience now, which I'm very inspired about. So
well, thank you. I hope to be able to help people, and but well, I am in the medical field, and we are not trained for how can I say, we are not taught and made for expanding our knowledge. Generally, it's very focused on surgical society, medical society. It's a very how can I say? It's a small. I don't know the word in English, but it's a small society. Medical surgeon, and we speak together, of course, but it's not for the general public. And we are not trained to teach general public. Only people like movie makers can do something. Movie makers, maybe journalists for general public, writing some papers with photos. And then little by little, this could be introduced to kids at school in order to train their mind. And little by little, through generation, you will change the way of thinking our body. When you look at Vesalius, Vesalius, it's or at least almost 500 years ago. Well, first, he has been condemned at death, and thanks to the fact that his father was the doctor of Charles V of Spain, he has been condemned only to go to Jerusalem, but he died coming back. And his ideas, helped by the invention of the printing, made around one century and a half, almost 2 centuries, to be spread out in Europe. A lot of time for that. So, we have time. We have time.
Oh, yeah.
And little by little, it will going on. But I don't think it will be very quick.
When you talked about the sliding and the fibril network, we started almost 2 years ago to see if we could help the body to heal scar tissue. So I had a woman who had four children by cesarean, by operation, and 2 operation after that. And the thing I think what we started to see, because if the fibril network is changing all the time, what happened when you cut it? So we started to try to treat to get rid of the scar tissue within the body. The thing was, it was like it was like a tree inside the body, because when you cut it, you got the pressure of the connective tissue or the somewhere else.
Yeah.
So the thing, I think we did 4 or 5 sessions, and she was doing it herself at home. And after 4 times, it was like the pelvis just bam, rocked into the table, because then all the tension was released. And that was interesting, that even the body can get more sliding in the scar tissue. So it's not solid, it's changeable. And I think that was an interesting experience to have, that everything is changeable in some ways. But I don't. But which one was doing the scar tissue that we read about to heal?
Carol Davis, no?
I think it was Carol Davis. So
yeah, and she talked about how the one collagen fiber in the arm is actually connected to all collagen fibers all out the body. And if you make a pull in that fiber, there will be a continuous pull throughout the whole system, even though it's very, very, very small. So the understanding of how connected we really are on the inside, how everything, and that's also a realization many people don't fully dig into. The body is actually connected. It's together. It's not separate parts. It's one living whole, and the whole thing is affected by the whole thing, and everything is affected by everything. And yeah. But then you realize that, and then you realize that, oh, my thoughts and my feelings and what I'm stressed about is actually affecting the hormones and processes inside of the body, which is actually affecting the collagen fibers, which is actually affecting my structure and my way of dealing with pressure. And I think that realization that we're actually one whole body it could really change things. We believe, at least.
Yes, I think so. But for example, you are interested in fascia.
Mhm.
You have the purpose to interest industrial people, okay? But in Europe, very few people are interested in my works.
Oh,
Very few.
okay.
Oh, yeah. During the last 15 years, I had connection only with one company
Okay.
in Italy. The beginning was in France, and then in Italy, it's Icon company. I have maybe 20 years, at least 15 years ago, I have been in connection with a Storz endoscope company.
Mhm.
I present slide, I present movies. I say, I did it with your system, with your endoscope. Can you help me to do better?
Mhm.
They say, yes. But they never call me, and they never help me. So
Where are the interests, if it's not in Europe? Are the interests somewhere else, in Asia or in USA? Or
maybe, but you know, I am a I am a French surgeon only, so to have connection in Asia, I have not a lot. You know? So for me, it's not so easy. So it's no, it's and I for example, I think we can improve the scarring tissue.
yeah,
We can. I am sure of that.
yeah.
So we can certainly improve the aging, or the wrinkles on the face, for example. We can improve this way of doing. It's not so bad, because now we have injection of glycosaminoglycan, which is a good way, I think.
Mm.
And but thanks to this research, we can improve it. But very few industrial companies are interested because they have no the knowledge of the living.
So what is you talked before about the difference between the dead and the living. What are the main things or general discoveries, or we talked about change before, we talked about the spontaneity of the body, we talked about everything being irregular. What are the main differences when looking at a dead body and a living body from your experience?
It's a mobility. It's a mobility. On a cadaver, nothing move. Under the microscope, nothing move. It's first mobility. Second, the colors.
Colors?
Yes. On a cadaver, everything is gray.
Yeah.
Under the microscope, everything is white or black. Even normally it's black and white, but if you put the fragment in threads with colors, of course you can see in a better way cells, fibers, and so on. But it's not a normal way to see the living tissue. So mobility and colors, you have beautiful blue, red, yellow, brown, golden yellow. So it's beautiful. You never observe green.
Never green, okay.
Never green. Surprising, never. And so mobility, colors, and how can I say? It's in English. In mobility, there is something very surprising. It's that the fiber move just before the needing for movement.
Oh, it's moving before it needs to move. It's like
It's
precautious. It's
unpredictable.
Hey.
It's going to move, but you can't say when and where. It's going to move. So this unpredictability is really surprising and asking question. Why at the last moment? It's not planned.
It sounds rather spontaneous or as you said, unpredictable. And it's interesting to hear you talk about it because, and I've seen you do it on lectures as well. It's almost like looking at a play or a movie or a drama. It's like studying persons, or this cell is now moving in this direction and we don't know why. What is it doing? It's almost like a narrative trying to explain what happens in the bodies. It sounds very fascinating and fun and interesting, and it must have been really fun doing this.
Well, for my way of thinking now, it's completely different from my way of thinking 30 years ago. But yes, it's very different. But it has changed my way for surgery. It has changed my way to appreciate life. To appreciate life, it has changed my relationship with other human.
In what way?
Well, first, you have not to accept diversity because you are in diversity. It's not a way to accept because you are in diversity. So
Because of the body.
diversity is everywhere, in your body, but outside of our body. We are all different. We are all unique. All of us is unique. So all the humans are unique. All animals are unique. So the singularity, you understand the word? Singularity is everywhere. And there is no better, there is no lower. We are all different, all diverse, and we have to accept because diversity is everywhere. So we are among diversity. All the trees are different.
Yes. They're all the shape. Yes.
Yeah. So it's the same for the birds. They look similar, but in fact they are different.
Yeah, and I actually had to look it up because the numbers are changing all the time. But it says now that we are 8.22 billion people on this earth. And if everyone is unique, that's a lot of variation. That's always strikes me as very, very fascinating, just how much variation it actually is. If we are 8.22 billion people and everyone is unique.
Yeah.
That's a great thought.
Yes, but it's the same for horses, it's the same for cow, it's the same for mouse. It's the same for all animals, it's the same for all the trees.
Yeah. And what you used to say, Hans, you say that every snowflake is unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't say you are more generous, but you are in a better acceptance of people around you. You accept in a better way.
It must be very humbling as well. Like if you feel humble towards...
Humbling. No, not humbling. No, not humbling. But you accept in a better way.
Acceptance.
You don't want to fight all the time.
So you said that you had a dream of showing these images to kids. Why would you like to do that?
Dream. It's you. You talked the first about that.
Yeah.
I said it's a good idea.
It's a good idea, yeah.
What do you think would happen if we did that?
Well, it has to be first presented by the teacher as inside the body of everybody. So all of the pupils are made almost on the same way, but all of them are different. But all of them are unique. So you have to teach to kids that there is no difference between kids. All of them are diverse, but all of them are different, of course, but all of them are unique. And then you can show beautiful images without blood, beautiful. And you can find beautiful images showing cells, showing fibers moving, for example. Yes, you can. I will present some beautiful images during my lecture, and you could select them.